Warning! Kinda Murdery contains adult themes, explicit language, and descriptions of violence. It is not suitable for anyone, and we recommend you stop listening now.
True crime with a dash of the paranormal, the garish, the strange, and the darkly comic. I'm Zevin Odelberg, host of Kinda Murdery, a podcast that's about more than just murder. It's my very own pocket dimension, home to a curated collection of bizarre and compelling stories. The unsolved, the unsettling, and the unbelievable. I cover it all, just so long as it's kinda murdery. Indeed, just like it says in the intro, I am Zevin Odelberg, and this is Kinda Murdery. In a chilling moment of legal assessment, federal magistrate Martin C. Carlson didn't hold back his condemnation when speaking about Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong. He did not mince words, describing her as a, quote, coldly calculating criminal recidivist and serial killer. The gravity of those words resonates like a thunderclap, echoing the horrors that unfolded. In April 2014, when one of her appeals was denied, Judge Carlson wrote the following, etching a haunting portrait of Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong's deeds. The words chosen by Carlson reveal the darkness that tainted her actions, portraying them as marked by, quote, brutality, sadism, cruelty, and the morbid abuse of her victims, both living and dead. These words, dripping with vividness, paint a picture of unimaginable terror inflicted upon others. This is a damning description of a human being, albeit one who, according to both facts and appearances, seems to have been a monster. Although, as I've discussed before, we have a tendency to label those who commit heinous acts as monster and inhuman, as if by denying their human identity, their fundamental humanity, we gain the comfort of firmly separating them from ourselves. And yet, time and again, we are shown that monstrosity is in fact a uniquely human quality. I should mention that a number of articles were indispensable in putting together today's episode. In particular, one entitled The Pennsylvania Pizza Bomber by a Medium writer who goes by the pen name Down the Rabbit Hole. All of my sources are in the show notes. Alright, let's get down to it. Please join me as we uncover what truths we can and solve what mysteries we may. Kinda Murdery's investigation of Some Women Just Want to Watch the World Burn, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong and the Pizza Bomb Murders starts now. Imagine a quiet town in Pennsylvania, August 28, 2003. The stage is set for a chilling tale that will send shivers down your spine. Brian Wells, an unassuming pizza delivery driver, stepping into a bank. But it wasn't a simple transaction he sought. No, he demanded a staggering $250,000, warning of a bomb with a deadly countdown. His voice trembled as he spoke those ominous words to the teller. Now picture this. Brian, not carrying $250,000, no, carrying only $8,702, exits the bank, encircled by the tightening grip of law enforcement. But there's more. A bizarre device is strapped around his neck, a device he claims is a bomb. The situation escalates, hearts racing as the police and media gather. Then, in a slow-motion car crash moment, the bomb detonates right before the eyes of the world. Brian Wells, the pizza guy, caught in a nightmarish ordeal, meets his tragic end. The aftermath unveils a twisted puzzle. Inside Wells' car, investigators uncover meticulous instructions, a chilling roadmap that led him to that fateful bank heist. But here's the gut-wrenching truth. Time betrayed him. The tasks he needed to complete before the bomb's deadly countdown reached zero were impossible to finish. And let's not forget, every murder is a story of a life extinguished, not just a tale of the perpetrator. In this grim tapestry, we'll encounter Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong, a name that sends shivers down your spine, a name that inspired the famous Netflix documentary, Evil Genius. But before we delve into Diehl-Armstrong's horrifying web, let's pause for a moment and remember the life of Brian Wells the pizza man shackled by a bomb collar. It wasn't an extraordinary life, at least not until the end. Born in Warren, Pennsylvania, he lived a quiet existence. The child of Rose and Harold Wells, Harold a veteran scarred by the Korean War. Brian's path took an unexpected turn. At just 16, he walked away from high school and embraced life as a mechanic, a decision that, like all decisions do, would shape his years to come. 2 decades later, in 1993, at the age of 36, Brian found another job, delivering pizzas for Mamma Mia's Pizzeria in Erie, Pennsylvania. A seemingly mundane job, yet it was this very job that led him down a chilling path, a path he walked for a decade, until that fateful day in the bank with a bomb for a necklace. Outside of work, Brian enjoyed music, cherishing the company of his cats. He had 3 of them. And there was something else, a guilty pleasure. The glow of the TV screen while he watched the original hit reality competition show, Survivor. It was a window into a world beyond his own. Despite his solitude, Brian maintained a warm rapport with his neighbors and even shared a few happy moments with their dogs. And then came that pivotal August day. Lunchtime, bustling streets, and an order that would change everything. 2 large pizzas, sausage, and pepperoni. An ordinary order for an extraordinary turn of events. The owner of Mamma Mia's Pizzeria, Tony Ditmo, handed Brian the phone. The address was a riddle that Brian would need to solve. As Brian embarked on that routine delivery, he had no clue that his life was about to be forever entwined with a bomb, a bank, and a web of darkness. His seemingly innocuous journey along Peach Street would become a chapter in a tale that would echo through time. As the clock ticked toward 2:28 p.m. on that ominous day, Brian Wells stepped into a PNC bank, his presence casting an eerie shadow over the ordinary. A short cane in his hand, an odd bulge beneath his TV collar. The stage was set for a chilling encounter. He slid a note across the counter, words that held the bank employees captive in a twisted tale of terror. The demand? Gather access codes for the vault, and get $250,000 to fill his bag, all within a tight 15-minute window. But this wasn't just a heist. This was a sinister dance of life and death. Brian's next move unfurled the horror further. He unveiled a box-like contraption, heavy and ominous, hanging from his neck. The note's threat materialized in front of them. A bomb. Panic and fear danced in the air as Brian's desperate bid to gain access to the vault hit a wall. The teller explained the impossibility of their compliance. They did manage to fill a bag with what they could and placed it in Brian's trembling hands. A brave woman's call to 911 pierced the chaos, a lifeline amid the terror. Just minutes later, Brian slipped out of the bank, clutching not the riches he had demanded, not $250,000, but a mere $8,702, and a dum-dum lollipop that he'd taken from the counter and was sucking on. His escape was fleeting. Within that same 15 minutes, state troopers had Brian and his Geo Metro, which was parked in a nearby lot, cornered. The police swarmed, apprehending him with force and precision. Picture this, a tense standoff. Brian, seated cross-legged in the Eyeglass World parking lot, desperation etched onto his face. He unraveled a horrifying story, a tale of being abducted during a delivery. A bomb forcibly fastened around his neck, a gun to his back, pushing him to commit this unthinkable act. He pleaded with the police, his voice cracking with urgency. He wasn't lying. He wasn't crazy. The bomb was real. And so, the stage was set. Police with guns drawn, bomb squad en route, and cameras capturing every heartbeat of this surreal tragedy. For 25 excruciating minutes, Brian remained calm. A strange juxtaposition against the lethal device around his neck, and a demeanor that raised eyebrows among the law enforcement, planting seeds of suspicion. In an uncanny twist, Brian's concerns seemed misplaced. He asked about his job at Mamma Mia's. He asked if they'd called his boss, as if his reputation hung in the balance more than his life. Time ticked away, the device beeping faster, more frantically. Brian's movements betrayed his fear. A futile attempt to escape the clutches of the bomb. And then, in a violent burst of sound and fury, the world erupted. The bomb detonated, and the blast hurled him backwards, leaving a gruesome wound in his chest. At 3:18 p.m., Brian Wells took his final breath, a tragic chapter closing in a cloud of smoke. The bomb squad arrived moments too late, and were left to survey the aftermath. And so, the man entwined in this chilling tale met his end. But as the dust settled, questions arose. Dark corners of the narrative hinted at a complex conspiracy, a tale that led to Brian's demise, a sinister plot that was conceived before Brian Wells took his first step into that bank. And at the heart of it all, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong, a name that would soon carve its own chilling legacy. And one of the questions that arose was whether Brian was truly a victim, or instead, the most tragic of all patsies, the sacrificial co-conspirator. But before we answer that question, we need to take a step back, shift the timeline, and peer a little closer at the mastermind behind the conspiracy that led to Brian Wells' death, the infamous Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong. Her life began in Erie, Pennsylvania, the same place where Brian's life ended. But when Marjorie was a child, it was a place where her potential seemed boundless. As a teenager, she stood out for her intelligence and refined demeanor, destined, it seemed, for a future in teaching or counseling high school students. Her early years were marked by recognition as a musical prodigy, a gift that continued to shine as she progressed through adolescence. Always well-dressed and poised, Marjorie appeared to be on a path leading to a rewarding career and a great life. Academically, she excelled, achieving consistently high grades throughout her school years. In addition to her studies, she held secretarial positions in various offices around town. Her educational journey took her to Mercyhurst College, where she earned bachelor's degrees in social work and sociology in 1970. Further pursuits led her to Gannon College, where she embarked on a master's degree in education with a focus on guidance counseling, completing it in 1975. And then, despite amassing 21 credits toward a doctorate in education, Marjorie's career never extended beyond office work. The mid-1970s marked a turning point for her as her mental illness, bipolar disorder, present since her early teens, began to take a firm grip on her life. Her mental well-being underwent a distressing decline, leaving her grappling with the demands of ordinary life. Douglas Sugru, her attorney for the pizza bomber case, noted the devastating impact of her mental illness, stating that it led to a downward spiral that made it nearly impossible for her to navigate everyday challenges. Her life took a tragic turn as her struggles intensified. In July of 2000, Marjorie's mother, Agnes Diehl, passed away at the age of 83. Despite occasional clashes and her mother's perfectionist tendencies, Marjorie deeply cherished their relationship. In the wake of her mother's death, Marjorie found herself without a strong anchor, a loss that left her adrift in many ways. Her connection with her mother was revealed when she confided to a psychiatrist that, despite differences, her mother was all she had. Her attorney speculated that if her mother had lived longer, it might have made a positive difference in Marjorie's life, offering a stabilizing presence in the midst of her struggles. Marjorie's relationship with her bipolar disorder was complex, marked by a mix of torment and pride. Despite consistently denying any involvement in murder, especially serial killings, she drew parallels between herself and accomplished individuals with bipolar disorder, like artists and politicians who had achieved greatness despite their challenges. This intricate interplay of her mental health and her perception of her own identity added a layer of complexity to her already mysterious character. In a chilling display of her self-absorption, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong once remarked about her bipolar disorder, "If there was something that could cure me, wouldn't I take it? You have to remember I'm not just boasting about it, but it's been linked to genius. Lincoln, Churchill, Teddy Roosevelt, Van Gogh, Beethoven, Hemingway. Some of the greatest artists and writers who ever lived were bipolar." This statement illustrates her ultimate narcissism, highlighting her ability to intertwine her mental health struggles with a sense of superiority. As the layers of the pizza bomber case were peeled back, the truth of the bank heist and Brian Wells' death emerged through the efforts of a three-headed hydra: federal investigation, media coverage, and the court system. The initial narrative surrounding Brian Wells' murder, or more accurately his involvement in the bank robbery with the collar bomb around his neck, unraveled to reveal a much more sinister motive than just stealing money. Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong had orchestrated the bank robbery as a means to raise $250,000 to hire a hitman. Her intention was to have her own father assassinated so that she could claim her inheritance, a claim that she framed by her assertion that she needed to, quote, stop him from spending my inheritance, unquote. Marjorie's elaborate plan involved using Brian to steal the funds from the bank, ultimately leading to Brian's death when the bomb detonated, as we know. However, her scheme fell short when Brian left the bank with only $8,702, not the $250,000 that Diehl-Armstrong was convinced she needed. And then, of course, beyond that, Brian's life ended in a catastrophic explosion in front of the police and the bomb squad. Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong's life was full of disturbing patterns of behavior, and Brian Wells' death was not the first time that she both intended and committed violence against men who were close to her. Marjorie got married once to a man named Richard Armstrong, a resident of Erie. Tragically, Richard passed away due to a brain hemorrhage in August 1992, merely a year and 8 months after their wedding. His death was determined to be due to natural causes. Notably, Richard, much like Marjorie herself, grappled with mental illness, and their dynamic mirrored the case of Robert Thomas, Marjorie's boyfriend, whom she fatally shot in 1984. A glimpse into Marjorie's residence in 1984 during the investigation of Robert Thomas's murder revealed an appalling scene. The police had to don toxic hazard suits due to the dire conditions within her house. Dog feces, clothes, and discarded fast food containers cluttered the space, while the discovery of an astonishing 400 pounds of butter and over 700 pounds of cheese in massive, rotting piles added to the grim picture. Diehl-Armstrong's legal history painted a chilling picture of her mental state. She exhibited sharp mood swings and uncontrollable rapid speech in court. Psychiatric assessments categorized her as paranoid and narcissistic, and she was declared mentally unfit for trial multiple times. Despite this, a judge eventually deemed her competent for trial related to the murder of Robert Thomas. Marjorie claimed self-defense, and the jury acquitted her. Leonard Ambrose, her lawyer in the Thomas case, believed that she should not have been prosecuted in the first place, but rather institutionalized due to her potential danger to society. He emphasized that her intelligence worked against them, making her even more dangerous, cunning, and deceitful. He contended that a trial should never have taken place, and it was only a matter of time before she repeated similar actions. As we now know, Ambrose's words would prove tragically prophetic. Returning to the scene of Brian Wells' murder, the police delved into a trove of physical evidence. Within Brian's delivery car, they discovered what seemed to be a 2-foot-long cane used in the bank robbery. However, it turned out to be a sophisticated homemade gun. The bomb itself was also the work of a DIY craftsman, composed of a triple-banded metal collar with 4 keyholes and a 3-digit combination lock, as well as an iron box containing 2 6-inch pipe bombs loaded with a double-base smokeless powder. The collar, akin to a giant handcuff, was securely locked around Brian's neck. While it had been constructed with professional tools, it also contained 2 Sunbeam kitchen timers and 1 electronic countdown timer. The wires running through it were mere decoys, along with deceptive warning stickers intended to mislead any potential disablers. In essence, the contraption was an intricate puzzle. The most confounding pieces of evidence were the handwritten notes found within Brian's car, a detailed 9-page guide addressed to the, quote, bomb hostage, unquote. These notes provided step-by-step instructions. The recipient was told to rob the bank, follow a complex sequence of timed tasks, and locate hidden keys and combination codes across Erie. The notes contained drawings, threats, and detailed maps. Following the instructions promised the keys and combination needed to defuse the bomb, while failure or disobedience would lead to detonation. The notes emphasized that survival required complete cooperation and adherence to the instructions. A chilling final statement warned Brian of constant surveillance, with any attempts to contact authorities resulting in immediate detonation. In capital letters, the note said, "Act now, think later, or you will die." This sinister plan seemed designed to put the hostage in a life-or-death race against time, weaving a terrifying narrative of manipulation, control, and deception. Indeed, what unfolded was like a nightmarish scavenger hunt, with the prize at stake being the hostage's very life. In the aftermath of Brian's tragic death, law enforcement found themselves trying to piece together the puzzle themselves. The initial instructions were deceptively simple. Exit the bank with the money and go to the McDonald's restaurant. Following these directions, Brian made his way to a McDonald's, got out of the car, and headed to a small sign in a flower bed, which read, "Drive-thru open 24 hours. Beneath the sign, he discovered a rock with a note taped to its bottom. The note provided the next set of instructions. Following the guidance of the note, Brian's journey took him up Peach Street to a wooded area several miles away. There, a container with orange tape was meant to hold the subsequent instructions. The note hinted that he would gain additional time with each new key found. However, before he could reach this second clue, the police apprehended Brian, putting a halt to his participation in the terrifying race for survival. In the aftermath of his death, investigators took up the task of continuing the search, locating the container with the orange tape. Inside, they found a note that directed them 2 miles south to a small road sign. It was at this sign that the next clue was supposedly waiting in a jar hidden in the nearby woods. Upon arrival, they found the jar, but it was empty. It was as if the orchestrator of this complex game had called it off once law enforcement became involved. It's also possible that the game was never meant to be truly solvable from the start. I'd say that's probable. Adding further intrigue to the unfolding mystery were the clothes Brian was wearing when he died. He had on 2 t-shirts, with the outer one bearing a handwritten Guess clothing logo across the chest. Strangely, he hadn't been wearing this shirt when he started his workday, and his family confirmed that it certainly wasn't his. The presence of words like "we" and "us" in the instructions led investigators to suspect the involvement of multiple conspirators in this elaborate and deadly scheme. This revelation painted a chilling picture of an intricate plan with many unknown players, each contributing to a chain of events that led to the demise of Brian Wells. The pursuit of the killer or killers, police didn't know yet, commenced at Mamma Mia's Pizzeria, leading investigators to focus on deciphering the enigmatic location meant for Brian's delivery. It turned out that the address 8631 Peachtree Street wasn't linked to a residence. Instead, it pointed to a TV transmission tower site nestled within a wooded area next to bustling Peachtree Street. However, accessing the site was no easy feat, as it was reachable only through a dirt road. While exhaustively examining the surroundings, investigators stumbled upon shoe prints that matched Brian's footwear, and tire tracks consistent with the pattern of Brian's Geo Metro. Yet the site itself didn't provide any clear clues about who had orchestrated Brian's arrival or the subsequent events. The following day, a journalist and a photographer from the Erie Times-News arrived at the tower site. Despite the barricades set up by authorities to secure the dirt road, their attention was drawn to a tall, robust figure dressed in denim Carhartt overalls. This individual, who introduced himself as Bill Rothstein, stood out at an impressive height of 6 feet 6 inches tall. Notably, Bill also taught woodworking at the local high school and was an unmarried handyman who had spent his entire life in the area. Despite the ongoing investigative activity unfolding near his property, Bill seemed unperturbed by the situation. Intrigued by the unfolding events, the journalist sought Bill's assistance to navigate through his yard, and he readily agreed. Their exploration took them into dense undergrowth, although their visibility remained limited. After roughly 15 minutes, they decided to leave the area, their curiosity piqued by the intriguing figure of Bill Rothstein and the unfolding mystery surrounding the case. Following his encounter with the journalists and his return to his workshop, Bill Rothstein resumed his daily routine, attending to his tasks and minding his affairs. However, a significant shift occurred on September 20th, less than a month after Brian's tragic death. On this day, Bill made a startling and unsettling 911 call, revealing a disturbing discovery within the confines of his own home. He informed the authorities, in a matter-of-fact tone, at 8645 Peachtree Street, in the garage, there is a frozen body. It's in the freezer. Whose body was it? And what did the body, or Bill Rothstein for that matter, have to do with the bank robbery and the murder of Brian Wells? Well, if you'd like to find out, please join me this Sunday for part 2 of Kinda Murdery's investigation of the infamous pizza bombing murders. Until then, I'm Zevin Odelberg, and this has been Kinda Murdery. Stay safe, everybody.